course.
Oh, you should have gotten him in the background.
You really should have done that, like,
That's our culture.
5 minutes ago.
A flying CEO.
What's going on, everybody? This is Ryan. I'm back this week with a new episode of This Week at Notarize. New friends.
Woo!
Kevin and Jasmeet, I'll let you both introduce yourselves and what you do here at Notarize.
I am a software engineer here at Notarize on the core team.
And I am our talent acquisition manager, and I oversee anything related to hiring and onboarding and performance and recruiting.
Awesome. So today we're going to be talking about culture, how to define culture at your company, if that is even a thing that can be explained, and then what it means to you both and how we think about it here at Notarize. And so I know we have a lot. We want to say about it, but what does culture mean to you both?
So, describe the company culture is the number one question I get in interviews, and it's a really fraught question because my experience here is going to be different from somebody else's, right? Like we all have kind of like culture is it's like a reflection of sort of like who we are, the values and the sort of like energy that we bring to the office. And so everybody's experience of it can be a little bit different. So I often think it's like a little problematic to sort of like say like describe the company culture when I know that like there could be like things that I value that maybe other people wish were different. And that doesn't mean it's like wrong or right or good or bad. It just means that like everything's kind of evolving and things are changing and people can kind of like appreciate different subtleties in sort of the office environment. Yeah. And it's still sort of a factor of the culture. We have to sort of like be careful when we're talking about culture that we're being honest about who we are as a company and it's not just sort of like a marketing thing, which I think it often becomes.
Yes. So how do you take it from being a marketing thing and something that's in practice?
At the end of the day, Notarize is still like a pretty small company, like especially here in the Boston office where it's like maybe like 40 people or so. So everybody can still have an impact on the environment or the culture. Like we can still we're not done becoming who we are. Like we still can we're still all empowered to create the things that we want to have happen here and sort of like impact the way that we operate as a team inside the office.
So how do companies think about, like how should companies think about this? I think one of the things that I really like about what this show has evolved into is kind of like what are some of the things that we're going through that we can at least shed some light on for other people to think about when they're thinking about culture or whatever they want to call it and getting more involved in their company to create that.
Yeah, I think like working towards creating a culture is kind of like maybe a dangerous path forward. It is like a little bit prescriptive. I think when I came here, there were not as many like events and like, I don't know, like things like built in to like enforce some sort of culture. But I actually felt like this is like the best place that I've worked. And I feel like that's because of my interactions with people and it's because of how people treat each other and respect each other. So instead of like thinking about creating a culture, like maybe we should be thinking about how can we create an environment where like everyone is like okay speaking up, like we like ask everyone how they feel, we like make everyone feel respected.
Liz, our COO, who was on a previous episode, and we talk a lot about wanting this to be a no Kool-Aid culture. Like I think there's a lot of companies, especially in the Boston tech space, that are sort of in an arms race for like fun events as a sort of like a way to force like a culture of fun and engagement. And I think that I think that's like really fake. B, I think it like asks a lot of your time when you already are spending a lot of your time like engaged in the things that make you a productive person at work. So for us, like we talk a lot about like not wanting to have a place where we're using events to sort of like create a personality around our culture. Like it's much more about like, are we being thoughtful in our communication with each other? Are we like making sure that everybody is productively employed on things that matter and the things that they're excited about? Do we feel like it's a place where you can speak up? Do we feel like it's a place where your opinions are heard? Those are the sort of like things that, those are like the levers that we want to pull, not like, you know, I don't know, like kegs in the kitchen or like, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, cool.
that make sense?
That makes total sense. So, culture. The reason why I was excited to do this episode is because I feel that people think they have to like figure it out and it never changes, and it's a thing that's like, this is our culture. We talked a lot about like hiring for culture fit and why that's not necessarily a thing that you should strive for, because how do you know what a particular person like wants, what their personalities are, like who they are when they come to work? It's hard to be able to dictate that. And like, who are you to say you have to fit this mold of a culture that's always changing? So thank you both for joining, for being on the show, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.